Okay, so with these past 3 episodes of Tokyo Ghoul A, this is definitely the calm before the storm. Like, I feel the foreshadowing and the weight of tragedy building upon this season. Like, oh my god. I feel it. I even feel the new foreshadowing. Like, all the new scenes that was added in this episode. Oh my, the furies I have right now. And so, the thing is, okay, I want to discuss something real quick before I dive into this episode and talk about the nitty-gritty with the details and stuff. I actually want to talk about something really quick. So, with these past couple episodes, for instance, besides the first episode of Tokyo Ghoul A that had a lot of action to it, these past 2 episodes of Tokyo Ghoul have been rather calm. For instance, very calm, barely any action, but a lot of, setup, build-up, foreshadowing, and stuff like that. And I could see how a lot of anime-onlys could walk into Tokyo Ghoul A and be looking at these past 2 episodes like, okay, so this feels rather slow, there's barely anything going on, why does this feel slice of life? Now, let me explain. The thing with Tokyo Ghoul and the beauty of Tokyo Ghoul is the setup and the actual dialogue between the characters. Like, in conversations, there are no spoilers, don't worry, but in conversations, Ishida loves having some foreshadowing. He loves his foreshadowing, like he does foreshadowing all the time. And these actual casual conversations that may not be nothing to majority of people actually means a lot. And so with, these past 2 episodes, it's like Ishida setting up the groundwork for the upcoming season 2. Like, he's setting up the layout for this season 2 for we can actually experience probably how the ending is going to be. And I definitely sense it. Oh my god. If you all watched my Fury Crafting video, last week, oh my god. It's becoming more and more apparent that it seems more and more likely to happen. But anyways, with this episode, getting off the topic of how these past 2 episodes felt, probably can feel rather slow to anime-onlys because you're probably used to the action scenes constantly that was showcased in Season 1. It's pretty much the exact same reason how SEO 1 was technically taken for the first time by anime-onlys. For instance, people thought SEO 1 was kind of like action-only, no characters. That's pretty much how Tokyo Ghoul was kind of perceived in Season 1, like nothing but action, but lack of development. And with Season 2, it's actually getting that proper development, that proper pacing, and Ishida's actually putting in some work. And so, these past 2 episodes, the reason why they might feel a little bit sluggish to some is because there's actually real progression and development going on for some of these characters. So anyways, pushing that aside, let's get on to the topics of this episode, because I have a lot I want to talk about. So straight off, there is, once again, anime original scenes and manga scenes in this episode, and I am loving that. I'm loving the intertwine of the actual real timeline from Tokyo Ghoul's manga and the anime original scenes, because it leaves enough to where I really don't know technically what is really going to happen, but at the exact same time, I can make some interesting theories about it. Now, I'm not going to dive into the deep theories, because I don't want to spoil you anime-only watchers, but I will talk about this, okay? The Naki scene in this episode, when you see Naki, crying on the ground, all this, like, Yamamori, Yamamori, he's crying. That scene, honestly, I don't think that was actually ever in the manga. That was an anime original scene because, technically Kaneki shouldn't have joined Ogiri Tree in the first place. So, the entire aspect with Kaneki actually having a conversation with Naki in this episode, that right there stood out among everything in this episode besides the specific scenes. That obviously stood out more to me as an actual watcher of this, episode, because Kaneki as a character, he didn't say nothing to Naki at all. I mean, he saved Naki, and Naki has this lot of, respect for Yamori, and we know exactly how Jason was to Kaneki. We know for a fact what he did to Kaneki. We all know that as the viewer, but, Naki's completely oblivious to this fact, and Kaneki doesn't really let him know, but even though Kaneki probably has this hatred for Jason, he doesn't say nothing to Naki about it. He just writes Jason's name down, and he kind of comforts Naki in his, pain and suffering. And that entire aspect right there, it just shows you, once again, the compassionate heart of Kaneki. Even though this man, Yamori, ruined Kaneki, ruined him, turned his hair white, fucked him over pretty much with his, psyche, he still has a good enough heart to actually help out Naki that is crying in the ground for his, fallen brother, pretty much in his eyes, or his fallen god, divine god. And it's really sad seeing that aspect, and seeing that entire, development right there between Naki and Kaneki. I know for a fact, since this is anime original, that it's going to have a massive, massive plot point for the future of this anime original. Like, I sense that so fucking hard right now, because that entire scene, I'm like, dude, that feels like, that just means so much. Like, oh god. So, past that, we also go on to the other scenes with, like, my boy Shu! My boy fucking Shu, man! Oh, amore, heartbreak. Fucking love Shu. He pops up at the end of this episode, and he wrecks that poor guy. He's like, he's cannibalizing our kind. Shu pops out, kills that fucking dude. Dude, Shu just comes in, wrecks this dude, and then after that, okay, he's like, ooh, I want Kaneki. He's like wanting to eat him. You see him slobbering all over himself. They're drooling, so like, oh my god. Just, you gotta love classic Shu, man. You just can't get enough of him. When he appears in the episode, you should expect a 10 out of 10 episode, because Shu, he makes the series. Like, he is the bona fide fucking badass. Dude, my Shu, man. My boy Shu, when he appears, everything just goes to gold. So anyways, past my fanboy, okay? Let's push that fanboy aside. The episode, pretty much, we have it to where we have other little progressions going on in this episode. And for the most part, the episode is very tame, calm, and set up. That is what these past 2 episodes have been, and it's very obvious. Like, the beginning of the episode, Hide is a point I actually really want to dive into with this episode. So, I just want to point out, Hide appearing in these past 3 episodes, I think he already has more screen time than he actually even had in Season 1. You remember how I said, if you watched my actual anime reviews I did in Tokyo Ghoul Season 1, I remember I stated, like, Hide should have had a lot more of a focus in, like, Season 1. Like, he should have appeared a lot more than they showed him. Like, he was cut out majority of the entirety of Season 1. And with Season 2 here, Hide's starting to appear a lot more. So, you gotta love that, how he's already kind of had more screen time in Season 2 in these past 3 episodes, and then the entire focus of Season 1. So I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, so getting back onto the topic of Hide, actually what he was doing, in this episode, it becomes very apparent and very obvious to tell that something is going on with Hide. Like, in this episode, you see that he is very lonely. Like, he talks about Kaneki to Toka when Toka goes to visit the university that she wants to attend in the future, and Kaneki told her to attend. Pretty much, you can tell in the eyes of Hide that he's very lonely. He misses Kaneki, and at the exact same time, he knows something is going on. If we all remember, in Season 1, it was mentioned by Nishiki that Hide is very aware of his surroundings. He really pays attention to his surroundings. He's very aware, and it's becoming very apparent in this recent, Season 2, that Hide is really starting to see something is wrong here with Kaneki, because he's even going as far to go to CCG to find out more about Eye Patch-kun. So, you gotta find that very intriguing, how Hide is actually starting to go to CCG to try to find out more information about, Eye Patch. And at the exact same time, he's trying to get as much information as he can, and he's actually taking down posters of Kaneki that's being put up. So, it just shows you Hide most likely has a grasp of what most likely is going on, because it's very obvious he knows something is wrong. Because his eyes, the worried look in his face, I mean, you could instantly tell something is going on here. So, moving past that discussion, going on to other things, Juzo, my boy Juzo. Like, okay, so we have my boy Ghoul, that's Shu, and then we have my boy Juzo on the, human side. Those are my 2 boys. Those are my 2 fucking boys. And when I see my Juzo and my Shu in one fucking episode, okay. So, Juzo, man. Juzo in this episode, he gets his Quinke, and I'm like, he gets his weapon, and he turns Jason into his weapon, and he calls his weapon Jason, pretty much. So, wow, he's got a giant-ass scythe, and he cuts that Quinky steel, and that is just too much, man. Too much epic badassness I am seeing on the screen when you just see him cut that fucking Quinky steel into pieces. Oh, did you see the face reaction? Oh my god. The face reaction of the doctor dude, like, that makes the Quinky, he's like, oh, like, he is freaking out and shit. That was just too damn priceless. So, Juzo's got a new weapon, and I cannot wait to see him use it. Oh, I'm looking forward to that shit. Now, other segments. We have the 2 half-ghouls introduced. For instance, one is Shiro and one is Kuro, as we can see. And Shiro and Kuro, pretty much, we don't really know much about them but we do know that they've been appearing since episode 1 of season 2, and they are half-ghouls, so we have to wonder exactly where they came from, what importance they have in season 2, but for the most part, we don't know much about them at the moment, but Kaneki does know that they are around, so there's not much really I can actually talk about that segment. So, moving on, let's move on to the Hinami scene in this episode. So that right there, just straight off, kawaii and cute. Oh, Hinami, that was so fucking cute, dude. She puts on a little outfit and all that. She goes to the bookstore wanting to, get a book for her, big brother. I'm like, oh, that's just too fucking adorable. Just, you gotta give Hinami a hug, man. If I could give her a hug, I'd give her a fucking hug. Because in the episode, when she's sitting at the desk and you see, the book writer, Sin, and, looking at her, it's like, oh, who you getting this for? I'm getting it for Kaneki Ken. And, you have to wear, like, oh, my big brother. Sin thought it was actually the lover of Hinami, but she says, no, it's my big brother. That adorable face she made. Oh, that's so fucking cute, man. So fucking cute. That is just too damn cute for my eyes. Oh. So, with that, pretty much, we have a little bit more introduction to this book writer. And in this episode, we also find out that CCG is starting to connect the dots with Kaneki disappearing. And so, something is definitely going on here in the works. I wonder exactly what is going to happen in the future with that entire development. So, I think that pretty much covers this episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A, Season 2, Episode 3. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.